Very well, so we are looking at containers, packing, and labeling. It is very important that if we are the ones providing our containers, they are clean, free from functional issues, not broken or dirty, because this can be reported by either our client or the person receiving the containers. Additionally, they must always be labeled because, for example, if we receive a product without a label and we do not know which batch it belongs to, its expiration date, or any other critical information, we will face problems since we will not know what the product is referring to. We must also understand that if our role is solely transportation, it is essential to ensure that all items that require labeling comply with the necessary standards, including Mexican regulations. Regarding the selection of containers, we must distinguish which ones are suitable for food, medicine, or cosmetics. We need to consider the ideal type of containers, cleanliness standards, storage space, stocking, transportation temperatures, and the maximum quantity allowed for transport. For example, transporting sacks of sugar or salt, which are very heavy, is not the same as transporting cans, which are delicate and may be rejected if dented. If improper stacking occurs and the cans get damaged, they may be deemed unusable, leading to rejection. A relevant examples come from Europe, where they are working on eliminating the need for specialized temperature-controlled transport. They are developing containers that maintain specific internal temperatures independently, allowing for the simultaneous transportation for dry goods and refrigerated items without requiring separate trucks for each. Moving forward, it is also important that containers are labeled beforehand, so that you know what is being transported, when, and how. Some products have specific requirements regarding temperature, light exposure, or air exposure. These factors must be established, and containers should be labeled appropriately to prevent label detachment during handling. Regarding adhesives, not just any type can be used. There are food-grade adhesives, and in the pharmaceutical industry, there are pharmaceutical-grade adhesives. However, food-grade adhesives can be used across different industries as they are non-toxic. It is also crucial to ensure that all substances used comply with safety standards. Containers must allow for easy identification of their contents and origin. Imagine a truck carrying products for multiple companies. If items are not properly labeled and boxes shipped during transit, the person who originally arranged them may know what they are, but others may not. Proper labeling ensures accurate identification and prevents the need to open every box to determine its contents. In the case of pharmaceuticals, labeling and handling regulations are even stricter. Some medications require controlled conditions. If you are transporting pharmaceuticals for laboratories or distributors, you may be required to carry psychotropic or narcotic substances, which are highly regulated. Such products often require security escorts due to the high risk of theft. In some cases, transport schedules and routes are kept confidential to enhance security. Furthermore, certain medications, such as vaccines, require biological storage conditions or may even be radioactive. It is crucial to communicate with the client regarding security measures, temperature requirements, transportation times, and specific packing needs. Some pharmaceuticals products are shipped in specially designed packing to ensure safe and uniform handling. There are also highly sensitive medications that require strict temperature control and the use of qualified equipment. Some clients might require proof that your transport equipment meets the necessary qualifications, including documentation related to equipment calibration. For example, thermometers and refrigeration units must be calibrated regularly to maintain compliance with regulatory requirements. Some companies conduct periodic audits to ensure that transportation conditions meet their standards. Vehicles used for temperature-controlled transport must have functional temperature monitoring system and undergo routine maintenance. A process known as mapping is conducted to ensure uniform temperatures within refrigerated or frozen transport vehicles. This involves placing multiple thermometers throughout the vehicle to monitor temperature variations. Some companies might request a temperature mapping report before using your transportation service. If clients request this data, it must be readily available. It is not acceptable to delay providing it or claim that it is being gathered. Regulatory agencies like COFEPRIS, the Mexican Health Authority, may also require this documentation, and it should be retained for at least 1 year. When using refrigerants in insulated boxes, ensure that the product does not come into direct contact with the refrigerant. Personnel must be trained in handling packing materials, including proper reuse and disposal methods. Some products must be discarded after use, and reusing inappropriate materials can lead to contamination. If certain materials are reusable, internal procedures must be in place for disinfection, storage, and handling. It is essential to check for leaks or contamination from refrigerants to prevent damage to transport products. A designated and trained person should oversee this process following specified guidelines. Regarding documentation, storage, distribution, and transport records must be maintained. Storage regulations also apply to distribution since transportation involves the movement of goods from collection to delivery. Records should include entry and exit logs. An entry is recorded when a product is picked up from a client, documenting the batch, quantity, and reception date. An exit is recorded when the product is delivered to its final destination. Temperature control shipments must also include records of date, time, procedure, equipment use, and temperature readings from calibrated thermometers. These records should be retained for at least 1 year. Transport providers have the right to reject products if they do not meet specifications. For example, if a delivered product does not match the expected batch quantity or condition, for example, dented cans, damaged packing, it should not be accepted. Any discrepancies should be reported to a supervisor, and the refusal should be documented. If a client insists on delivering a product despite defects, this should be noted in the records for liability purposes. Transport equipment must be properly maintained, regardless of whether a vehicle is company-owned or shared. Routine maintenance is essential. Vehicles accumulate mileage, and maintenance schedules should be based on usage and routes. Measurement instruments like thermometers and hygrometers, which measure humidity and temperature inside transport vehicles, must be calibrated regularly. If a truck has temperature logging equipment, it must also be properly maintained. Preventive maintenance programs should be established for both vehicles and instruments. For example, thermometers should be calibrated every 6 months or annually, depending on regulatory requirements. A calendar should be maintained to ensure these tasks are complete on schedule. This ensures compliance with safety standards, prevents last-minute issues, and ensures the transportation conditions meet both client and regulatory expectations. If we need to keep records, as we mentioned, it is essential to maintain records of temperatures, how the product is received, and all related data. Likewise, reports should be prepared, submitted, and reviewed by our supervisors or managers. These records should include details of what was done, when it was done, and how it was done. However, recalling something from a month or even a year ago can be challenging. If we are required to provide information during an inspection, or if a client requests details about a specific delivery, we must have well-documented records. This ensures that whether it is a customer, a supplier, or COFEPRIS, we always have a properly organized documentation. Cleaning is one of the most important aspects and is often closely scrutinized. You may be asked if you have a manual, an instructional guide, or specific cleaning procedures. Typically, this is known as a standard operating procedure, SOP, referred to as P&O, Procedimiento Normalizado de Operación in Spanish, which is required by regulations. You must develop a specific procedure for cleaning facilities, equipment, and transport vehicles. We have previously discussed the need for cleaning products. whether they are concentrates, rinses, or other cleaning agents. Simply sweeping, mopping, or wiping surface is not enough. Products must be used to eliminate bacteria, viruses, and other contaminants. A cleaning program must also be in place. A schedule should specify who will clean, when it will be done, how it should be performed, the depth of cleaning required, and which areas are included. Additionally, records must be maintained to document who performed the cleaning, how frequently it was done, and signatures from both the responsible personnel and the supervisor. The records should include the areas cleaned, the equipment cleaned, the date, time, and shift. For example, if a client reports that their product was contaminated with an odor during transportation, having a record of the cleaning products used can provide proof that only food-grade or approved products were used. This demonstrates that no strong chemicals or unauthorized substances were used that could leave residues or odors. Keeping records of cleaning products, schedules, and procedures is essential to meeting regulatory and customer requirements. Pest control. As previously discussed, certain areas such as warehouses or drainage systems can be difficult to keep free from pests. Sometimes, pests such as insects, rodents, birds, or even stray animals like cats may enter facilities or vehicles. A structured pest control program should be in place with a schedule and frequent monitoring. Pest control service must be carried out by certified or COFEPRIS qualified personnel. If pest control substances are used, records must be kept to confirm that only approved chemicals were applied, along with details on when and how they were used. Additionally, certification of pest control service must be achieved as a part of compliance documentation. Staff training. During a sanitary inspection, clients, suppliers, or warehouses may request evidence that personnel are properly trained. Training programs should be documented, specifying the type of the training received, the instructor, and participants' qualifications. COFEPRIS may require an individual training file for each employee involved in the process. This file should contain records of training sessions, attendance lists, instructor credentials, and participant scores to demonstrate qualification for the roles. The company should keep a copy of each participant training certificate, while the original is given to the employee. Regardless of the size or color of the transport vehicle, it must always be in optimal condition. Those involved in transport must be capable of resolving any issues that arise during the work process. One critical but often overlooked aspect is the hygiene of transport personnel. Customers, suppliers, and warehouse staff will evaluate not only the condition of the transported goods, but also the cleanliness and appearance of the personnel handling the products. Employees directly handling raw materials, packing, or finished products must adhere to hygiene standards. This includes maintaining personal cleanliness, wearing clean clothing and footwear, keeping hair short and tied back, and having neatly trimmed nails without polish. Contaminants such as nail polish chips, cuticle debris, or bacteria from hands can affect product integrity. Hair should be covered with caps or hairnets. In certain facilities, uniforms, vests, special shoes, support belts, or helmets may be required for handling loads. It is advisable to communicate with the receiving facility beforehand to ensure personnel comply with necessary dress codes. Jewelry, accessories, pens, thermometers, or any other small objects should not be worn, as they might fall into products or packing. Companies should provide designated storage areas for personal belongings. Visitors must also adhere to hygiene protocols, such as covering their hair, wearing appropriate footwear, and avoiding unnecessary contact with the products or transport surface. Proper hand washing techniques should be emphasized, as bacteria viruses can spread through improper handling. Employees should wash their hands regularly, especially after using the restroom, sneezing, or touching potentially contaminated objects. Health and hygiene. Maintaining good health is critical in transport operations, particularly for those handling food, medicine, and cosmetics. Employees should monitor their health, and some companies require periodic medical checkups to prevent contamination risks. Even minor illnesses, such as colds, can spread through physical contact, coughing, or sneezing. Certain infections, such as salmonella, can linger for days, even with good hand hygiene, posing contamination risks. Eating, drinking, chewing gum, or smoking inside transport vehicles should be restricted. Even seemingly harmless items like water bottles can become contamination sources if left open or exposed to heat. Designated areas should be provided for food storage, smoking, or taking medications, ensuring that these activities do not compromise product safety. Transport vehicles should always be kept clean. Often, the driver's cabin is overlooked, but inspections can occur at any time. Inspectors, clients, or coffee-priest personnel may request to check the vehicle's condition. It should always be prepared for such evaluations. Additionally, vehicles should be free from rust, worn seals, or any other damage that could lead to contamination. Being part of the food and pharmaceutical supply chain means upholding high safety standards. Ensuring product safety and quality is a collective responsibility, and excellence should be our shared goal. Hamad, thank you for allowing me to deliver this course. I appreciate your attention.